The president is just behaving like a hyena, waiting for other strong animals like the lion, tiger, and a leopard to kill the animal. Then they will not come in their group. But I don't see any 2027 election coming. If care is not taken, Nigeria will end up in full-blown revolution. Some of them have moved their wife to court to appeal in preparation for 2027 election.
Joining us is a regular here at the studio. He is a Monday regular guest. He is an advocate, a solicitor of the Notary Public of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, Mike Tane Adubabari Esquire. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very kindly.
Thank you for being here. We always appreciate your presence here at the studio. Delta State government has banned civil and public servants in the state from overseas study. Also, officers granted study leave abroad will no longer receive salaries during their period of study. The directive aimed at curbing the misuse of overseas study leave was issued in a circular by the Delta State Civil Service Commission. The state government said it has observed an increasing number of officers using overseas study leave approvals as a means to evade their duties. The circular accused some officers of traveling abroad for studies and never returning back to the country, while others resigned without fulfilling their contractual obligations. To address this issue, Governor Sharif Oborewori has directed that civil servants seeking study leave must enroll in Nigerian institutions if the course of study is available locally. Additionally, officers granted study leave abroad will no longer receive salaries during their period of study, the circular stated. The circular also stated that senior officers in ministries, departments, and agencies would be held responsible for enforcing those directives and could face penalties for unearned salaries paid for non-compliant officers. Let me get your thoughts on this quickly, Barrister Mankey, first off, before I make a statement over it, please.
Okay. If you listen very carefully, you will understand that there has been an observation. You understand?
Yes.
That the process has been abused. And I think it's a right step if it is taken to tackle that abuse. Now, virtually, there is the purpose is to be to advance, step up the knowledge base of the individual. I will tell you practically, our academic system here is outdated. Many may not believe it. If you go to our school here and check, most of the things being taught are outdated. There are things that are inside the dustbin. While in the Western world, because there's nobody that is talentless. We are all talented. There are things God gave us. What education is supposed to be is to act like a kind of fire, like what we may call a kind of engine. Because if you talk about sea travel, it is the horsepower that determines the speed of the boat on the sea.
Yes.
So that is what education is supposed to do. It's supposed to fire up that our innate ability and enable us to be useful to the system. And it also helps us to the extent that we fine-tune it, domesticate that our talent in terms of the current reality and the direction. But that is not the case. If you go to school now and interact with majority of the graduates, they are still going to school to get paper to apply to work. Meanwhile, in the Western world, the system teaches you to come out as an entrepreneur. It brings you out as a job creator. Here, you see people carrying PhD. Some of them, when you interact with them, you realize they are blank and empty. That aside, all they have in mind is that if you ask them why are they going to school, they are going to school to apply to get a job position. Sometimes, actually, we need a very serious mental shift. Now, what is going on? They are using this system as a means of jabbing, that moving out of the system. He also recorded there that some of them don't even return. Then some other persons, if a person is genuinely interested in that, apart from the fact that if they are going to offer that, it must be a course within the Nigerian, virtually, except courses like aeronautic engineering and some very serious courses. If not, there's virtually no course that is here. Then you look at it, you ask yourself, what is the quality of lecturers we have here? The whole system has been bastardized by the political class. I can tell you that. That's why you have professors who have no invention to their credit. And politicians are able to manipulatively turn them into electoral fraud validators. That's why I'm very afraid when they advocate that there should be creation of new institutions. They are looking for where they will create people that they will use for their electoral fraud. The moment the intention is bad, the end product will be bad. The moment the intention is bad, if you use fertilizer to plant or enhance growth of a crop, for instance, agricultural products, the product that will come out of that tree will reflect and cannot compete with one that is grown in an organic environment. I give you an example. For example, let's say cucumber. Cucumber that is grown in a fertilized environment, you can't compare it to a cucumber that is grown in an environment that has organic manure. The one that will organic manure, you just put it under the dew. It's active. It can stay for a long time. The one that you pluck from a fertilizer environment, the next day it will start it will rot. So that is exactly what is on the ground. First, what is the purpose of their moving? They are using it as a means of robbing the system and moving out. They do not have the system at heart. So it's quite unfortunate that this is the kind of situation that we find ourselves. And if these will be able, in fact, like some people have suggested, which I believe, if there is a stop of medical tourism, we will focus on our medical disease. I just lost a dear brother just this week. I went to UPTA yesterday just to find out, because it was in a military hospital. They recommended that he should be transferred for further care. Only to get to UPTA yesterday, they told me he died Saturday morning.
Sorry.
What happened to him? From what I'm discovering now, if there was a proper system in place, the guy would have survived. Because he battled for at least a week. Battling to survive. The first time they got to UPTA, they said no bed space. Finally, they say, okay, you can hang on this bed until somebody moves. They put cat on there. A teaching hospital. If you understand, that's why I always tell you here that just pray every morning that may Nigeria, as presently constituted,
you actually been making the prayers for me.
May it never
this
happen
prayer
to you.
is for me.
I mean what I'm saying.
Amen.
So that is just it. It's so sad that this is what is going on. I hope the man is sincere about it, and then to be able to reserve some fund for the administration and for other projects. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you on that, Barrister Mikey. Well, with the issue of Japa, we can see how it's skyrocketing. If you go to the embassy in Lagos, you will marvel at, oftentimes most people sleep there just to wait for the appointment time how the immigration issue and all of that. You know, you just marvel. I've said this most times about people that I know firsthand that decided to sell most of their vast properties, assets that they have in Nigeria, just to leave the country. You know, oftentimes most of them do not leave because of overseas study. Some of them just feel like reasons was I want the worth of my work, you know, to be the same as the wage I get in return. Like they give excuses of when you work in Nigeria, you do not get the value of what you put out there. You know, in other countries, in developed countries, whatever you do, you get the same value or even more of whatever you do. You know, and all of that reasons. You know, for the Delta State government to take on this decision, you know, like you stated about the educational sector, that most of the facilities that they need to foster education, even the curriculum, is not a favorable one. You know, imagine a student that wants to study biochemistry and you do not have facilities for practical sections. You just learn the theory and you do not have that other knowledge of, you know, all the practical sector, or a surgeon. You know, all of that. And there are some facilities in the country that there's some institutions that will actually have few of these facilities, which are the private universities. The government ones do not have most of them in place. You know, and let's look at the other parts of staffs or civil servants that decide to leave, you know, in this kind of instance. Obviously, most of them will rather say, I do not care of the repercussions of this, as far as I'm going out of this country to, you know, get peace of mind to an extent. I've heard someone say that once you leave Nigeria, you just have this breath of fresh air, for some period of time, because it's like there's this thing in the air. But I really don't know. I think it's just a personal mindset. But in as much as they've decided to ban the overseas study for courses that are in Nigeria, the courses have to be looked into. There are certain curriculums that you check that they're not necessary to be there. Lecturers that are also teaching these courses are not really well equipped, in all of that cases. So this stand that the Delta State government has taken, I will also want to get elaboration on this more, on if it's for the good of the state, or it's just more on a political aspect.
Well, to me, like, there's something important out there. Naturally, like here in River State, we had River State University of Science and Technology before. The reason for that university was to meet the peculiar need of this area. But unfortunately, that was not done because of politics. Petrochemical graduates, in fact, they are supposed to be complete platform for refining petroleum product on campus by way of practical. So that, there is this, what we call campus shuttle. That is where you're supposed to have the cheapest means of transportation on campus. That's where you're supposed to have the cheapest means of feeding on campus. You just drive to petrochemical department and then they will sell you fuel. That's how it's supposed to be. But people go through the university without seeing a platform that produces fuel, and they are issued certificate. In fact, most of these boys go to these local refiners to learn the practical process, because there are some of these things that require practical base foundation. Without the practical, it's useless. So what is really going on? Now, if you are looking at it from the other angle, the question will be, what is the quality? Because we have DELSU. What is the quality of the academic system that is on ground there? Because if somebody needs to go for further study, it should be within the state. Because the money that the government is spending is coming back to the state. It's supposed to be within the state, not outside. So what is the quality of the lecturers that are there? Most of the lecturers are just politicians. The same thing has happened to the judiciary. That's what has happened to the academic system. I told you last time, the academic university is supposed to be a knowledge-based export center, where people export knowledge, where people export discoveries. People come in there to check for ideas that they can partner with and make money. But the reverse is the case. Just paperwork. And most of the ideas they are churning out are outdated, not relevant, because you are supposed to domesticate the idea you have. How would it be useful to your own system? How would it help the system? Like you talk about the civil service. Most of the people in this hanging at the corridor of the civil service, they ought not to be there with technology. One person can sit down on this table and do the work. Okay, like this is not a studio, this is a television station. In studio today, you can have one person on the console handling the music, everything at a go. Before you see several persons on the console, this one is doing this one, this one is doing this one, this one is doing that. No, all that is gone. Things have changed. One person will just sit down here and do everything, put things together. That is how things have moved. So you go to the civil service, you check what is going on. When you hear, like last time we were talking about pension, the world system has advanced to the point that even years ahead, one is supposed to know when he's retiring, how much is going to be paid. This thing, they will just send it into the system to give you with mathematical. They will write your check and keep with date. And when you are there rich, they give you your check. If they want to build for you, let's say low cost housing scheme, government can do it. But the whole system has been bastardized. I told you here too. Every day you wake up, if you do not fight for the safety of your mental, framework, you can, depression is hanging around you. Right? Like it is now. If you check within my office artists on Friday, what happened in this country, which I prefer to call judicial supermarket. you notice that something is fundamentally wrong somewhere. You can feel it. A lot of people are already depressed because their hope is dashed. But like I always tell people, I'm an incurable optimist. I will never give up. So, back to the issue. It is both back and forth. You may look at it that it's a reaction on the part of the government if there is no adequate facility on ground to take care of it. But if they have adequate facility on ground to take care of it, find a way.
Thank you so much, and this, Barrister Mankey. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Moving forward, Lagos State House of Assembly has directed all staff and legislative aides to work remotely, and with further notice due to the ongoing leadership crisis in the legislative arm. The directive was issued on Sunday by the acting clerk of the Assembly, Babatunde Abubakar, in a memo addressed to all staff. The move, according to the memo titled Amendment to Remote Work Schedule Arrangements, aims to ensure staff safety and prevent any potential violence stemming from the leadership dispute. To this end, all categories of staff at the Assembly, LAHASCOM, and legislative aides are requested to work remotely from home until further notice, the memo stated. It further assured workers of the commitment of the new Speaker, Mojisola Meranda, to their safety and a peaceful resolution of the crisis. The Assembly has been engulfed in turmoil following the removal of former Speaker Mudashiru Albasa and ex-clerk Olalekan Onafeko by 32 lawmakers on January 13, 2025. Obasa was replaced by his former deputy Miranda as a substantive speaker. Obasa has rejected his removal as unconstitutional and on February 27 stormed the assembly complex with heavy security, broke into the speaker's office and resumed duty. And there was this statement I had while he was moving. They were calling him actor. I really don't know, why the praises was actually meant on him. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Well, it's part of the drama. I've told you that Nigeria is a theater of absurdities in motion, and so it's part of the drama. I blame everything that's going on squarely on the judiciary. And I'm not a prophet of doom, but let me fire this warning shot that a day of judgment is coming. I say that with firmness, that a day of judgment is coming in this country. Because all that is going on is happening based on the body language of the president of this country. That was his control zone, Lagos, where people told us, Bola Tinubu build Lagos, Bola Tinubu build Lagos, and I jokingly said, when he imposed himself on Nigeria and they said, okay, build Nigeria, suddenly they say cement has finished. It's as funny as that. We had all the back and forth concerning this Lagos issue. It's a show of shame, and it's what they want to plant around the country. That people can manipulate even the judiciary. People can manipulate the judiciary. Come on. I am seeing a situation wherein there is gradual entrenchment of criminality around few individuals. And nothing seems to be happening. It's a complete show of shame. That's where we are. The law is being manipulated and destroyed. And I always say this. What people don't know is this. When you take undue advantage of the law to your advantage, when you manipulate the law to your advantage, just wait. Few meters ahead. That thing you did is standing and waiting for you. This is one thing that so many people do not know.
There was a statement that was made by Atiku Abubakar, the former presidential candidate of the 2023 elections, that Tinubu should speak over this because he had to slam Tinubu over his silence. Considering this Lagos Assembly crisis that has been going on, because like you stated, this is a state. And then as the president of the country, you cannot say, it's just like when they say you can't chase rats when your house is on fire.
Yeah.
And as the head of the family, there's something they say, okay, in Igbo, that's like an elder cannot be at home while your goat is held in tita, like it's held in that thing, the thing that the rope they use to hold the goats and all of that. It's more like an elder being at home and your house is on fire and you're not doing anything about it. In this instance, I would just want to know, why do you think the president has been silent over this issue for a long time? This matter did not start now. Yes, even after the impeachment and all of that, there was a time that the assembly actually wrote to the DSS for the DSS to employ security operatives to the assembly, because they had hints that Obasa was going to come with his security operative. But along the line, the DSS actually came, but it was more like they were more on his side than Miranda's side, in that kind of instance. I just want to know, do you think the impeachment was out of place? And then the decision that Obasa had to take, forcefully coming back into office, and all of that issue?
We are in a complete state of lawlessness. If you don't know that, here, take it from me and take me serious. The crisis that has engulfed Rivers State today, I place it on the corridor and table of the president of Nigeria. Sadly, the protagonist of the crisis is somebody that the person who moved out of office for him to come in said about him that he can betray the mother for money. That is a very serious statement about the character of an individual. So, if the president can cause the crisis that is in Rivers State, what moral capacity does he have that he can?
Why do you think the president is part of the Rivers State crisis? If I'm not really going into that, but in this instance, it's a different kind of scenario.
Why I'm bringing it in is, we have Nigeria on its own, then we have states. The components. It's supposed to be federating units, kind of. But we are not running any federalism here. That's the truth about it. In fact, we are not running any democracy. Anybody who thinks that we are in democracy is in delusion. But what we have here is an aberration. Now, if you look at it, there's what we call body language, which is very much in fall. People are paying attention to it. A father who is morally bankrupt, there are advice he cannot churn out to the children. All the children knows him very well. A wife beater or abuser cannot advise the children on how to be friendly with their wife, or when they are married, how to treat their wife. The children, in fact, if you watch the children very well, you will see their own reaction. There's a difference between response and reaction. You will not see their response, you see their reaction instantly. It's like asking him, do you have the moral authority? When it happened in Rivers State, I gave a warning. It's happening there. You saw what was happening in there. Is it the Ogun State? Oshun. You saw the drama. We talked about that day. And I said, this is the D-Day now. Let's watch out and see what will happen. You saw what played out. And these are the kind of crises. There's what we call testing water. It's a principle. These are the kind of crises that they want to create towards 2027. Some of them have moved their wife already to court of appeal. And I asked, what is the criteria for moving somebody to court of appeal? Is it not supposed to be excellent? Some of them have moved their wife to court of appeal in preparation for 2027 election. But I don't see any 2027 election coming. I don't see it. If care is not taken, Nigeria will end up in full-blown revolution. That's the truth. The president is just behaving like a hyena, waiting for other strong animals like the lion, tiger, and a leopard to kill the animal. Then they will not come in their group. Look at what happened in Rivers State. Look at the statement he made about the Rivers crisis. Now they have used the court as a judicial supermarket, Supreme Court at that. A show of shame. You will see similar thing happen in this Lagos case. Because by the body language, the president is behind this person who broke office and entered, and nobody could say anything to him.